Hey guys, it's Chris here with Prestige Auto. We've got this Kawasaki Bayou here in the garage today. One of my buddies said it had been sitting in his barn for over 10 years. They haven't started it, it hasn't ran, just been sitting in the way. Said I could have it if I wanted it. So he brought it over here and dropped it off. Turns out pretty good because it's the exact same as my son's Kawasaki here. So if we need to test any parts, we can swap it from this one to this one to see what it needs before we buy the part. I got it for free. So we're just gonna mess around with it a little bit, see if it'll even start. It's been sitting over 10 years. So we're gonna buy the least amount of parts that we can to try to get this thing running. And we'll see what happens. So let's see what's up, guys. We're gonna, so I guess the first thing is we're gonna put a little bit of air in these tires. And, cause this one's been sitting for a long time, pretty dry rotted, but, it'll do for now. We're gonna put a little bit of air in the tires. And we'll do a couple things. We're going to take it outside, get it all washed up, try to get it cleaned up so that way we can see what we're working with and not get any dirt in anything. So let's go outside, let's push this air up the tires, push this thing outside, get it all cleaned up. So this Kawasaki is going to need a new battery. The one that's in it is no good. It's been sitting a very long time. So we picked up this one at AutoZone. We got to fill up the acid ourselves. Also got a new spark plug for that ATV. Here's our battery. Let's see, maybe this is our acid. Yeah, I think this is the acid we got to put inside of it. So I've never done this before, so we're both going to learn together. So if this is your first time doing this, like it is mine, it says right here, remove and discard sealed tube before filling with acid. So on the end of it, there's a little red cap. And we just pop that off, throw that away. It comes with a little hose, a clear hose. It looks like that's going to be a vent hose. We're going to put it on there and run it off the ATV later. It has a little sealed tape on the top. We're going to pull that off. It says to take your acid here and cut off just the tip. So let's do that. Cut it off. And this little red hose came attached to it right here. You'll just pop that on there, kind of twist and push down so that it goes. And it comes with a bunch of little black caps right here. Whoa, these little black caps are going to go back into those after we fill it up. If you look on the side of the battery, it shows a lower level and an upper level. Don't know why it shows lower level, because you're supposed to fill it to the upper level. Anyways, let's pull this off. Throw that away. And we're gonna put this in here and start filling it up. Okay, so you can see this when you're filling it up on the side. I filled up these two chambers already. See how it's darker? I haven't filled up these right here yet. So just watch the side of this as you're filling it up and make sure you stop at the upper level. It says that once we get it all the way filled up, we're going to loosely put these black caps on these holes. And then you want to let it set for an hour. And then you'll come back, check your levels, see if it's went down any. If it has, top it off. And then after an hour, you're going to put it on a trickle charger for 3 hours. This is before you can use it. So we're going to finish filling this up right here, put the caps on, let it set, and then we'll come back and check it, top it off, put it on the charger for a few hours, and then we'll deal with this later. caps on. It says just loosely set them on there. I guess because it's still bubbling inside there, so maybe that acid builds up pressure. I can hear it in there. Sounds like Rice Krispies. Okay, so we've got it set there. Put it off to the side. This little hose goes on later. Here's the nuts and bolts that go for us to put our terminals on. We'll set them there. Comes with this little manual. Tells you how to do it. If you look at the top of the box, actually, it shows you like a 3-step process. So, that's what I did. And we're going to leave it for an hour, and we'll come back and check it. Dang, this thing's dirty. It's got dirt dauber's nest inside there. You can't see the gas gauge. Man, it looks really bad. Look in there. Let's see what it looks like under the seat. Gross. Man, this thing's been sitting a long time. I wonder what it's even going to sound like when we put the battery in it and try to fire it for the first time. It'd be crazy if it fired up the first time after 10 years. Slapping a battery and a little bit of gas. We can get her cleaned up. That like a dirt dauber's nest on the end of the brake handle. He said it ran good whenever they parked it. Looks like there's a hole in the side of the exhaust, so we're gonna have to patch that up somehow. All right, let's get to cleaning it up. 'Look at that difference already. That's 10 years of mud. "10 years of mud on that side." Shoo-wee, she's looking good now. Got her all cleaned up. Can't tell the difference between which one's which now. Just kidding. I can tell. So, I think since Ian was nice enough to donate us a couple parts off his for testing, I'm going to upgrade his with a couple off of this one. Like, his seat's torn up, so this one's got the better seat. I'm going to swap them out. Also, his choke cable is messed up. We've got a little zip tie on there, and it's tough for him to start it. So this one's got a good choke cable handle. I'm going to take it off, swap it with that one. Also, I was using his four-wheeler one day to pull down a tree, and we busted out his tail light. So, and that'll help him out a little bit, make his look a little better. So we're going to let this thing dry off for a little bit. Let that battery set up there and charge some. And then we'll come back once it's dry and put the battery in. Maybe put a little bit of fuel in there. Change the spark plug out. And turn the key and see what happens. See how durable these Kawasaki Bayous are back in the 90s. Been setting for 10 years. We're just going to put a battery in it, some fuel, and a spark plug, and see what happens. I'm sure the carbs are going to need cleaned, but we'll do it. Alright, we went and got some fuel, and the battery's up here charging. I think I'm going to go ahead and steal Ian's battery, and I'll just give him the new battery when it's done charging. That way we can get it in here and find out what's going on. I looked down in the gas tank, and it's gross in there. I don't know if you can see, but yeah, it's gross. We're going to pull this tank off and clean it out real good before we put some fuel in there. So let's get that tank off and get it cleaned out. Alright guys, we got that tank out. Man, this thing's gross. There are dirt dauber nests all over it. See that? Still, I don't know if you can see inside, but it's terrible in there. It looks just as bad inside as it does on the outside. It was rough in there. So we're going to clean up all this section. Took the handlebar section apart. Took this case apart, and it's got the ignition in here. We don't have a key to this thing, so I'm going to see if Ian's key will fit in this one. Then if it doesn't turn it, I'm just going to pull out the pins so that any key will work with this. And that'll just be our secret. Alright, so let's take this thing outside, get it cleaned up, and then we'll put it back on. Okay, we got this tank cleaned out. The water that came out of it was gross. It was like really rusty water. Like as many dirt dauber nests were on the outside was inside as well. The pitcock right here is clogged up. It won't even turn. So we're going to get something and slide it up in there and try to clean all this junk out. Might have to take this thing off. to get it. But we'll lube this up, clean it all out, and see if we can't get it working. Alright, we've got this gas tank cleaned up. It sure was dirty. The petcock here was, it was like concrete inside of it. I had to take off these screws here, take it apart, pull it off of the tank, and it was so gummed up and clogged up all the way through. Had to blow air through it and just poke it with, I used a little rod like this right here. And then I've got some small Allen wrenches that I stuck in there and got it all out. I bet that the all the fuel lines and the carburetor had gummed up like that too. So we'll find out once we get inside there. But for now, this is all cleaned up. It's working good. Turn it on. It's flowing. So we're going to dump the water out of this, let it dry out. When I took this apart, there's a little O-ring inside that broke. May have already been broke. But I've got this assortment. I got this from Harbor Freight. It wasn't much at all, but it's come in handy a lot. So I grabbed one from there, put it in, and it's good to go. Now let's check out our fuel lines and see how gummed up they're going to be and work our way on down to the carburetor. Alright, so our first fuel line, that's going to the carb from the gas tank. You can't see inside of it, but it is jam-packed full of stuff. So this hose is going to have to be replaced. Actually, we're going to try to clean it and save it first, because we're going to try to spend as less as we can on this fix. The carb is right here. There's a nut there. And there is one there. So there and there. Those two. There's a couple little, the throttle cable we're going to have to get free, and some other fuel lines, but we're going to pop off this carb, take it apart, and see what it looks like inside. Alright, we got this carb out now, and it is very gummed up. We're going to tear it apart, spray some carb cleaner. I've got some carb cleaner from AutoZone. We'll spray some of that in there. We might put it in a bucket and let it soak in some gas or something overnight, and try to break some of that stuff up. So let's start tearing this thing apart and see how it looks on the inside. Okay, so it got late on us last night, so we're back here the next day. This carb was so gummed up, I don't even know if this thing's even going to work. I'll be surprised if it does, but we have got it really clean, except for the float here in the bowl. I let it soak overnight and some stuff. This whole thing was like Laffy Taffy all over it. All inside there, all inside there. It was gross. So let's continue cleaning this stuff up and get it all put back together and work our way towards our first start on this thing. Alright guys, let's get to it. Alright, we got the carb cleaned up, put back on. She's up in there. Now we've got to, we're going to get our gas tank there and slap it back on and get all the hoses connected. So let's go. Alright, we've got the gas tank kind of set up in there. We're not going to strap it down all the way just in case we got to pull it back out to do some motor work. So now what we're going to do is we're getting close to this first start, so we're going to need a key. We're going to take Ian's key. Thank you. And I already tried to fit this in here earlier. It did not fit. So I sprayed a little bit of, sprayed some WD-40 down inside there. And now it does fit. Okay, so, but this key does not turn this ignition. So what we're going to do is we're going to disassemble this here. And inside here are some pins. We're going to pull those pins out so that any key will work with this. So let's take that apart, get those pins out. We'll put it back together. We'll put all this back together so that way we can get ready to give her a first start. So let's put all that stuff back together now. Okay guys, that's going to wrap it up for part one. We've done a lot of stuff to this thing already. We've got it cleaned up. We've taken the carb completely apart. We've cleaned it up really good. Cleaned all of our fuel lines, cleaned the fuel tank. We've charged up our battery. So on the next episode, we're going to put in our new battery, put in that spark plug, top it up with some gas, and see if it's going to fire up after 10 years of setting. We also got the ignition set up. We pulled the pins on it, so now any key will work. We can take the key from Ian's, stick it in here, on and off. So we've got that ready to go. We just need the battery, some fuel, spark plug. So get back with us guys on the next episode and see if this thing will fire up. Thanks for watching.